Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Survivor's Story podcast with the Veterans Chamber of Commerce. Today we have Tamara Linnan. She was a Navy corpsman, and she's here to tell us her survivor story. And I'm just so appreciative of your time because I know you are a busy woman. So thank you so much for being here. So tell us about your story.
Thank you for having me on again. I appreciate you taking time out um, and when I was 5, I actually was diagnosed with Kawasaki syndrome, which is a very rare heart disease. And I managed to kind of get through that. But the biggest trauma I overcame was definitely my mother taking her own life when I was.
So yes, thank you, Tamara, for being here today. So tell us your story.
First of all, thank you for having me, Annette, and thank you for everything you do to support our veterans. I really, really do appreciate that. Well, I'm 40, so or I lied, I'm 43, so my story definitely could be long, but I think the short version is my mother took her own life when I was 8 years old. And that left me a teen cutter, and that left me navigating mental health in a time, 1987, when you couldn't navigate mental health. Psychology was a pseudoscience, was what I was raised to believe. 1996, 7 in the military was not mental health friendly at that time, right? As those times where you had to sneak out and pay cash for a counselor and not get caught, right? And so, I had a lot of speed bumps because of the cutting, which led to drinking, which led to bad choices, right? In that entire route, and really, I mean, I'm 40, like I said, I'm 43 years old. But the day I turned 34 was the hardest day of my entire life because my mother was 33 when she took her life. And trying to figure out, that navigation, and took me a lot of years to do it. All my degrees are in psychology now. I have been trying to figure out why people commit suicide my entire life. And even though I'm not like a psychologist working in the field, I am almost done with my master's. I did all of that because I just wanted to know, who my mom was and why. I don't know what my mom's voice sounded like. After she passed away, I never saw another photo of her, and we never were not allowed to say her name within our home. We were Catholic. I was told she was in hell, and they wouldn't bury her in the Catholic lot. So had a real good wrap around on what evil meant to me, right? And for some reason, I knew in my heart that my mom wasn't in hell, and I knew in my heart she wasn't weak minded. Like I just knew there was something somebody wasn't telling me about mental health. And by the way that I was raised, now mind you, I'm not putting blame on the way I was raised. 1987 in a town of 1,200 people wasn't exactly progressive thinking, right? Like, so it's not that. But being raised that way, I should have very well, adapted that thought about mental health as most of my family members did. But I just never did. And I was always seeking for answers that other people didn't want me to have.
So now with you finishing up your master's degree, what do you want to do? I know you there's so much you want to do more with it, but what else would you like to see in the next few years with that?
I apologize. I missed the last part of that question.
It's okay. So, with you finishing up your master's degree, what would you like to see in the next few years with that?
Well, I'm going to tell you, to be honest, the ability to pay all these student loans off. For me, at this point, it's just finishing what I started. And kind of like that, I don't say F you to people who told me that I'm not qualified to be speaking to people about mental health. And I'll share. And so I don't plan on being a counselor. That I'm not built that way. But I do, want the knowledge, that others have. And it really actually scares me because actually I want more than, I guess I appreciate you asking that question because it just clicked for me. In the next 4 years, I really hope to see more psychologists and mental health personnel working with some sort of social worker or something like that who understands that. I because of what I do with the starving dog and the mental health and problem shenanigans, right? I know a lot of counselors. We're always looking for services for other people. And I had some very hard conversations with counselors who went to college for trauma. They're licensed to deal with it. And I've heard several of them actually say, I don't understand why somebody would kill themselves. I don't understand why a teenager would cut themselves. And so it's kind of scary that the quote unquote the most educated person, right, on trauma supposedly and all that can't connect with those people. There's a reason if you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, your sponsor is an alcoholic, right? Now I might not have that PhD or anything like that, but I can spot a teen cutter 8 miles away. I can spot somebody who is smiling, but their eyes have told you that they just don't want to be on this planet anymore. But I'm told I'm not qualified, right, to work with people, and I just disagree wholeheartedly. And I told a few of these counselors, I'm so very happy they don't know that darkness. I've been suicidal. I've been a cutter. Like I'm really, really happy it can't understand that. But at the same time, it breaks my heart that we're sending in sometimes the most unqualified people to help the people who need the most, connection to understand how it works. You can't just go to a teen cutter and ask them to stop. You usually can't go to their family because you become a teen cutter because you can't express yourself in your home. I wasn't allowed to talk about my mom. I wasn't allowed to cry. I wasn't allowed to have feelings. And cutting became that way to release pressure, right? And all that. And so I think in the next 4 or 5 years, I would like to see some sort of program where the psychologists and I'm thankful they go in that realm. But I do have a real problem, with counselors counseling out of stuff they learned out of a textbook and not by actual human connection.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I appreciate what you're trying to do because I think you're qualified, but that's just my opinion. I think that we but this isn't about my opinion, so but I just want to say that I appreciate you. And so you're here now, you are a survivor of so many different things and you want to give back and you are giving back because not everybody knows what else you do behind the scenes. So I appreciate it. And I'm just so glad that you're still here. What would you like to leave to those that are watching and listening to this?
I would like to let people two things. Right, don't wait until something affects you to care about it. Right. My thing is mental health. I've cared about it since I was 13. And I would like other people to care about it. But at the same time, in this chaotic world now with Me Too and racism and just all the things going on in the world that aren't right, um, I wish more people would stand up for the right thing before it affects them personally.
Mm.
for whatever that cause is, right? Because if we don't recognize other, misjustices, not well, when you recognize something that's wrong in your morality, in your opinion, and you say nothing because at that moment it's not affecting you or your loved one, I think that's just as bad as committing some of these acts yourself. And it was something that I realized I was being a hypocrite about in my own life. And so regardless of the cause, I really love to see more people care about things that don't quite yet affect them directly yet, but it's going to at some point, right? Like I can't. There's probably not a single human being on this planet who, at some point, hasn't known somebody with depression, or had suicidal thoughts. But on the same token, right, 2 out of 3 women are sexually assaulted, and there's a lot of other things that I could also be standing up for and should. And I hope others will start working together, even if their causes are for a different thing. If more nonprofits work together to provide um, an ecosystem of help, right? Like not just giving the homeless a house, right? But making sure that they get counseling and they got a job and they can do these things, right? And I guess I would like to see organizations and people stop putting band-aids on issues to make themselves feel better, to make them, well, we provided, 20 veterans with houses. You provided nothing else they needed to make that work.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, even though I'm for mental health, I'm a huge advocate of, it takes a village. And if we could work together and not do that kind of BS nonprofit thing of, if I help you, our people won't have money kind of thing, and you find a way to make that work, I think humanity in general would, be doing a whole lot better, than we are on a lot of fronts.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tamara, for sharing your story, your survivor story. Thank you for being here, and I do look forward to seeing what else you're going to be able to do for everybody.
Well, I appreciate that. And I, again, thank you for everything you do. You've always been a huge supporter of mine, and I'm really humbled that you are kind enough to share your platform with myself and, and some other people. So thank you for that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.